Ever feel like your mind is glued to a million things at once? Like you're stuck on autopilot, juggling to-do lists and worries? Well, you're not alone. Today's deep dive is all about finding a little more peace in the chaos, and our guide is a source with a very intriguing title, Testo Incolato. Now, before you think we're about to crack open some ancient Italian mystery, it actually translates to glued text, and it's surprisingly relevant to our modern lives. We're diving into excerpts from a renowned meditation teacher, think calm guidance, not incense-filled rooms. And the best part, these techniques are all about simplicity and fitting into your life just as you are. So, ready to unglue our minds a bit. Let's start by getting comfy. Find a posture that feels natural, like you could hang out here for a bit. And don't worry, this isn't a yoga competition. No need to contort yourself into a pretzel. Just imagine your body relaxing, resting on itself like a stack of pillows, all soft and supported.
I love that image, the stack of pillows. It's a great reminder to release that unnecessary tension we often carry. The source actually calls this the mountain seat. It's about finding that balance of stability and ease, and that slight emphasis on a straight spine. There's real wisdom there. It's not about rigidity, but about creating a channel, a connection between your grounded body and your busy mind.
Right, like it's giving your awareness a solid foundation to work from. Isn't that interesting how something as simple as posture can have such a big impact?
Absolutely. And that subtle forward tilt of the head our source mentions, that's not about hunching over. It's about positioning your head so it takes minimal effort to stay alert, almost like it's being gently pulled upward.
It's like our bodies are already primed for this kind of awareness. We just need the reminder. Okay, now that we're settled in, let's gently close our eyes.
Think of it like drawing the curtains on the outside world for a few moments, letting your senses recalibrate.
It's like hitting the HD button on your senses, right? Our soul talks about becoming aware of sound's temperature, even the feeling of the air on your skin.
And here's the key. It's about acknowledging those sensations without judgment. You're not trying to decide if they're good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. It's simply about noticing being present with them. This is what cultivates true mindfulness. Not emptying the mind, but befriending the present moment exactly as it is.
Okay, so we're grounded in our bodies, tuned into our immediate surroundings. Now our source takes us on a little field trip. They guide us to visualize the space beyond our rooms, even beyond the clouds.
What's powerful here is the invitation to connect with vastness, with the boundless nature of space itself. It's a beautiful contrast to that glued feeling we were talking about earlier, that sense of our minds being crammed full.
And they use such a vivid image comparing our thoughts and emotions to clouds forming and dissolving in that space. It's like watching a never-ending sky show, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a reminder of the ever-changing nature of our inner world. Our source emphasizes that just as clouds arise, change, and eventually vanish, so too do our thoughts, feelings, and sensations. They're not permanent fixtures, but rather temporary visitors in the vast landscape of our awareness.
So how does connecting with this vastness actually help us in daily life? It's easy to feel peaceful gazing at the sky, but what about when we're back in the thick of things, dealing with deadlines, decisions, and that never-ending to-do list? How do we bring that sense of spaciousness back with us? It's like we've been on this incredible journey, exploring this vast inner space. But then how do we actually bring that back into the everyday, with all its demands and distractions? That's where I think this idea of the blah, blah, blah comes in, right?
Yes. And I love how our source puts it, the blah, blah, blah. It just perfectly captures that constant chatter that's going on in our minds.
It's like a never-ending mental loop, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts and worries and plans just swirling around.
It really is.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like it has a life of its own, doesn't it? Like we're not even consciously choosing those thoughts. They just pop up.
Exactly. And it's so distracting, especially when you're trying to focus on something or just find a little bit of inner peace.
Right. And it can feel like we're supposed to somehow shut down all that blah, blah, blah. But our source reminds us it's not about silencing the mind completely.
It's more about changing how we relate to it.
Exactly. Just like those clouds we were visualizing earlier, we're not trying to stop them from forming. We're simply choosing to observe them without getting totally swept away by them.
So it's about noticing those thoughts without judgment, without getting carried away by that whole drama.
Yes. And maybe even having a little fun with it. When you notice your mind spinning with blah, 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 just gently acknowledge it, maybe even give it a little mental label like, oh, there's the blah, blah, blah again, and then gently redirect your attention.
Back to the present moment.
Back to the present moment, exactly. It's like training a playful puppy. It might wander off a bit, and that's okay. You just gently guide it back, again and again. And with practice, it gets easier to notice when your mind has wandered, and to gently bring it back.
It's like you're building that mental muscle memory, right?
Exactly.
And it's not about like adding another chore to our to-do list. Our source really emphasizes that even short moments of practice throughout the day can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Even just a few conscious breaths before you check your email, before a meeting.
Or even while you're waiting in line at the grocery store, those little pauses can really shift things.
Absolutely. And, I find it helpful to really connect with my senses in those moments. Feeling my feet on the ground, noticing the sounds around me. Those simple things can be incredibly grounding.
It's like hitting that refresh button in the middle of a chaotic day. And it doesn't require any special equipment or like a whole retreat in the mountains.
No, exactly. It's always available to us. And what I love is that this kind of practice isn't just about feeling calmer in the moment, though that's a wonderful benefit.
It's also about cultivating those inner qualities. Right?
Yes, those inner resources that help us navigate life's challenges with more skill and resilience, like peace, presence.
Maybe even a little wisdom along the way. It's like we're slowly ungluing ourselves from those old patterns of anxiety and stress and opening up to a whole new way of being. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Testo and Collado, I'm left with this thought. What if we really did treat our minds like gardens? What would we choose to cultivate? What weeds might we gently remove? And what kind of inner landscape do we want to create? Food for thought as you continue to explore these practices and discover what works for you.